Hello, dear students. Welcome to What, Why, How, the daily initiative by IAS Baba, where we take up a current affair or an editorial and we try to declutter it in less than 10 minutes. The topic that I have chosen for today is something related to the field of economics, and it's primarily a premium article that was written, which is Why is the rupee weakening against the dollar? Now, this is a very recurrent problem that we keep seeing in the news. So, I'm going to declutter it for you in absolute detail as to how you can understand this particular article. So, they are saying that the currency, that is the Indian currency, has depreciated, and what are the reasons for this depreciation is what is being explored in this article. First of all, what exactly is the idea of depreciation? Depreciation means something loses its value. Now, when I'm saying something loses its value, I want you to understand in the case of currency, you say something has lost its value in comparison to certain foreign currencies. So, right now, the Indian rupee in comparison to the US dollar has breached the 85 rupee mark. This happened in December 2024, and it's not the first time that we are reaching to such lows. But if you look at last year, this is the lowest that the Indian rupee has got. If you take totally in last 1 year alone, the currency value of India has depreciated by 3%. So now from here, if tomorrow the Indian rupee turns out to be at 90 rupees, this depreciation again has gone further below. That means the rupee has depreciated much greater than expected. So understand, when I'm saying depreciation, I said it's the loss of value of something. You say something is depreciated when the value of it can be two things: either the value of the currency goes down, or sometimes the value of whatever foreign currency you are measuring it up to, the value of that increases. Now, how does the value of anything increase or decrease? Now, let's take any good or service or anything. The value of something depends on its demand and supply. Now, when I'm saying demand and supply, if the demand for something is extremely high, but the supply is only very stable, then what happens? The value of a good or a service or something, that will go up. Why? Because there is extensive demand. But at the same time, what happens when the demand drops? If the demand of something drops and the supply is almost same over here, then what happens? The value of whatever we are looking forward, it can be as simple as even one plate of biryani. What happens is the value of that drops. In this particular case, what has happened over here is somehow the demand for the Indian rupee has decreased. Okay, this is one thing, and the supply has remained constant also to a large extent. Now, let's try to understand why specifically in India this has happened. See, now if you take India or any other country for whom the currency value is depreciating, it can happen due to several reasons. Some of the reasons that are quite relevant is if the central bank of that country has a very loose monetary policy. Loose monetary policy means what? At that particular point, the bank has taken certain policy which has allowed the influx of that particular currency into the market. Maybe, for example, it can be some very loose policies like, maybe, changing the repo rates, changing the cash reserve ratio. In any of these cases, what happens is the currency supply in the market has now increased. But now, if the supply has increased, but there is no much granted demand for it, then what happens? Then also the value can drop. So here you can say one of the reasons why the Indian rupee is now depreciating is some considered to be because of certain loose monetary policies by the central bank. Second thing is, I told you that otherwise the other point to counteract is that the demand of the currency should be high. But in India's case, what has also happened is very recently a lot of foreign investors who were there in India have moved their foreign investment to certain other advancing economies. That means currently the demand for the Indian rupee is also very low. So on one hand, the demand is low. On certain other aspects, the supply is getting higher, but there also the demand remains low. So all of these has compounded to the value of the Indian rupee going down. Further, we have not been able to boost our exports. If at all we were able to boost our exports, at that point also to pay back the export bill, there would have been a demand for the Indian rupee. But that is also not happening right now. So I hope because of all of these things, the impact of each of this has acted in different ways. Some of these has, decreased the demand. Some of these has increased the supply. Some of these have, as for example, there is inflation in India. Inflation in India means what? The amount of money that is there in the Indian market is very high. That means the supply of Indian currency is quite high in the Indian market. But is there demand for it? No, there is no demand for it. This has also led to the inflation, or this has also led to the depreciation of the value of Indian rupee. Now, to somehow counteract this, the RBI had taken some measures. What the RBI did is, because Indian rupee's value was measured against the US dollar, the RBI, with whatever dollar reserves it had, with it as its foreign exchange reserves, what the RBI did is they started pumping dollar into the international market. But even then, what has happened is this has not changed India's situation with respect to depreciation. Some experts do say that if the RBI had not done this, that is, increasing the supply of dollars in the foreign exchange market, if the RBI has not done this, the depreciation of Indian rupee would have been even more worse, is what is being mentioned. So right now, the short-term measure that the RBI had taken is proving to be quite ineffective. But in the long term, boosting our exports, trying to attract more foreign investors into the country, having a little bit more tighter monetary policy, all of this will go a long way in curbing the depreciation of our currency. So I hope this topic has been clear to you. Since it's a topic of economy, there are a lot of students who normally get doubts with regard to this. So I hope this entire article and the crux of it is now clear to you. Until we meet again, take care and happy learning.